Everyone's wanted to disappear at some point, and if you haven't yet, then you will one day. One day you'll realise the growing void in your chest isn't actually going to go away on its own like you thought it would, and you're now stuck with the hollow realisation that life does suck. It's wet food touching your hand in the sink and seeing a sold sign outside your childhood home. It's getting stood up on a date and then locked out of your own car. It's embarrassment and guilt and shame. It's everything that crushes you down and makes you think maybe if I was someone other than me, then I won't feel these things anymore. Fun fact, the act of disappearing on its own actually isn't an illegal activity, and the only reason the police will pretend to look for you is if there's someone in your life who cares enough to actually report that you've gone missing. Or if you're like a criminal evading taxes or jail or stuff, in which case the police will definitely look for you, but I can't help you with that, so... But, assuming that you are not a criminal who is heavily concerned with evading constant police pursuit, there's only really a few things you'll actually need to disappear, which are as follows. Money, a mail drop, a birth certificate, and ID. Money is obvious. It pays you to not die, and unless you plan on escaping this capitalistic hellscape we call society altogether by just vanishing into the woods, which is a little extreme, if not understandable, in which case you'll need none of these things. But if you don't fancy camping in the woods, then I recommend you start saving. Like, now. The second thing that you'll need is a mail drop. When you look up a mail drop, the first thing to come up is
Apple support. Mail drop lets you send large files like videos, presentations and images through iCloud,
which is not useful for actual physical documentations that for some reason still exist. Governments still rely on silly pieces of paper for you to say, yes, this is who I am, believe that I am real, and this is a system that we will be abusing in order to reconstruct who you are. But in order for you to collect all these documents without them being immediately traced back to you and your real life address, you will need an actual mail drop, which is basically a warehouse address that you can send everything you'll order for your new life, unless you want people to know that you've been ordering someone else's birth certificate, which makes the whole disappearing thing kind of hard. So now you have money and a mail drop that you bought with said money. The next thing that you will need is a birth certificate. But I don't even know where my real birth certificate is. Why would I ever need a fake one? Firstly, forging a birth certificate is hard and expensive, and also fraud, which is an actual crime which we're trying to avoid doing yet. And secondly, a birth certificate is a form of identification that will be the key to every other kind of identification that you would need in your life in order to, get a job, a house, other important things. So, do you know anyone who died in your class as a kid? Yes, as macabre and unfortunate as it seems, the birth and death departments of our governments are rarely ever in sync, and so borrowing the birth certificate of the not so recently deceased is actually not that hard to do. Find someone roughly your age in a random graveyard, ask for a copy of their birth certificate because they don't care what you're going to do with it, and voila! You're almost a new person, and you still haven't broken any laws. Yet. After that you can apply for a new passport, a new driver's license, whatever ID you could ever want for really, and that's when you're actually breaking the law because you're now technically committing identity theft, but borrowing the identity of the dead, well, I don't think they really care, do they? There are other things you could look into for building an easier life for yourself, like job references, good credit and such, but these are really extras on top of the bare essentials that you'd need, besides somehow erasing your entire digital footprint off of the internet. But honestly, if you've made it this far, I'm sure you can figure something out. But this is all just theoretical, right?
We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.